Hello and welcome. In today's video, I'd like to show you how you can use automation code to reduce manual DevOps work. So let's get right into it. Now, one thing I want to mention is that it's not always best to write these kinds of automation for everything. I've noticed sometimes the fastest way to do something in production is doing it manually, but when you have to make it hundreds of times, then it becomes a good option. With that said, you will see a program you could make to automatically monitor your deployed web applications, check the health and hardware of your cloud instances, manage Docker-based applications, among other cool features, all through a single CLI interface. Now, I chose Python to make this program because it has an amazing support for automation. However, other programming languages can be used. One of the tasks that we find ourselves doing a lot of times is sending requests to our web applications or servers to make sure they send a response that we expect them to send. If you need to, let's say, monitor 10 different servers, each with 10 different routes, it becomes handy to programmatically send requests to them with a single command. This is exactly what this feature of the program does. It will use the request module of Python to send requests to a list of servers, which is this one. Actually, this is going to be the list of servers that we're going to be working with throughout this video. All of them contain important metadata of the servers, such as the endpoints. Don't worry about these other things. We're going to talk about them in a bit. So to run this program, we'll just use Python 3 and the entry file, which is main.py. We can pick one of these 8 different options, and for now, we'll test the first one, which will iterate over the servers. We can actually pick only one server or all of them at the same time, and I will go with all of them. One thing I forgot to mention is that the actual automation logic for the commands will be in this controllers folder. I will not go too in-depth into the code of this program, since this is just a high-level overview, but I hope you take the time to review the source code. But basically, what we do in this first option is call some of these functions for each server to check the status of it. For example, in this first function, we'll send a request to the server on a given port, but without using a specific endpoint, just to see that the server is running. If it fails, we'll try to ping the IP address of the cloud this server is running on to see if it's even alive. And once we make sure that the server is up to begin with, we're going to loop over the server's endpoints to make sure they give us a response that we expect. I'll be running this for all the servers, and look how beautiful it is. In my case, none of my servers is showing an error, but let's see what happens if we expect one of our servers to give us a response that is not the one that it currently gives. As you can see, we still iterate over the rest of the servers, and this specific server tells us what failed and why it failed. Now let's directly jump into the third command, which is pretty interesting because it will connect via SSH to our cloud instance, and it will give us important details, such as how much memory our cloud is currently using. It will also show us how much space is currently occupied in the disk of the cloud. Of course, for this, you need to load the credentials you would typically use to get connected over SSH. The rest of the commands also work by getting connected over SSH. This fourth command basically prints the Docker containers that are currently running in our cloud instance. The fifth command in the list allows to run test suites for a specific Docker app in our cloud. Of course, you need to write those tests beforehand. So let's test it with this server. And this next command will give us 3 different functions related to Docker Composes. So it allows you to either start, stop, or watch the logs of different Docker composes that are in your cloud. So that would be it for today's video. Hope you found it interesting. You can check out the source code of this app on my GitHub profile.